All right. Good evening, everyone. It is 6:15 according to my time, and I am calling this meeting to order. All right. Hel- Hello, everyone. Welcome to our special meeting on reopening. At this time, we want to say thank you all so much for participating. We do have people participating, of course, in the Zoom meeting. We also are streaming live on our YouTube channel. So if you're not able to get into the Zoom meeting, the, um, the YouTube channel also is available for you. Dr. Chase is going to make a presentation. We will also have questions taken for about 30 minutes. We'll be taking questions from the chat. We also have Laser supporting us with the YouTube um, channel in case there are any questions in that chat, and he's going to try to ensure that it gets into our Zoom meeting. Any questions that we have not answered at this time, we will ensure that they do get into a FAQ that will be available on our website. So thank you, everyone. Dr. Chase, the floor is yours.
Okay. Well, good evening, Greenberg Central School District community. I hope everyone is well. We thank you for joining us on this very beautiful August afternoon. We're gathered because, hold on, I'm going to pause. I'm seeing in the chat that the YouTube folk are having some difficulties hearing.
They can hear now. It was before we went live.
Okay. Okay. We're all here today because today we're going to share with you our findings, and also the board and the cabinet will engage in discussion about the reopening of our schools. So what I'm going to do is to share a presentation with you, and we ask that those of us who are on the Zoom chat to please put your questions in the chat. I'm also going to just ask that you listen to the presentation first, because there may be a possibility that we might answer your question after you've already asked the question, and then it takes up the time from other people to ask questions that may not have been addressed in the presentation. So if you have questions, just kind of jot it down on a piece of paper, and then toward the end, you'll know when it's the end. Toward the end, you can just put your questions in the chat and we'll be happy to answer those questions. All right, so if you just give me a couple of minutes, my cabinet and I will be sharing with you. And I'm going to share my screen with you. Of course, it started from the end. So if you can see the PowerPoint, just give me a thumbs up, because I can see some of you. Give me a thumbs up. I can see you. Fantastic. So today we're going to be talking about reopening Greenberg Central School District, but you also see two words following the title: responsibly and safely. Those two are the key. We're going to be smart about opening our schools, and we're going to talk about the process by which we took, and then we're going to share with you what the rollout will be moving forward. All right. So let's talk a little bit about our process. As you know, in March, Greenberg Central School District closed its schools on March 18th. March 16th, we gathered our teachers, our administrators together. We shared with them what the format is per the governor's executive order. And we closed our schools and we transitioned quickly to remote learning. I have to say that our teachers did a fantastic job, but I also want to give a shout out to our students who transitioned very well. It really speaks to their resilience, and the parents who were receptive to our new remote learning model. In July, we received, well, actually before July, we started our task force meetings. We started gathering members of the community including parents, students, teachers, our union leadership, our administrators, our board members. We even reached out to community organization leaders. We reached out to faith-based organization leaders. We reached out to the wider community to come together to talk about what's in the best interest of our district, what's in the best interest of our children. We had almost 70 individuals to participate, civil service, some of our secretaries were part of it. Everyone was a part of the decision making because this is our school district and we should all own how the district will open. We later received the guidance document and we had to do some restructuring and some modification and some amendments based on the guidance document, but we started the work before. And our guidance documents were from New York State Department of Health, as well as the New York State Education Department, but we just didn't stop there. We also relied on documents from the CDC as well as the AAP, where we relied on the also to our medical professionals here at our school district. So then we devised the reopening plan. That plan was submitted July 31st to New York State Education Department and the Department of Health. We all awaited the governor's announcement about the opening of school. But his announcement was a little interesting because he asked us to do something a little different, to do even more work, which was just fine. He asked us to host a series of parent meetings as well as meet with our teachers. So the Greenburgh Central School District did something in Greenburgh Central School District style. Instead of doing exactly what he asked us to do, to host the 3 meetings, we decided that we were going to host meetings at every school and with our educators. We decided that we would host it at every school because we wanted the message to be relevant to the audience. We didn't want to have a wide audience where high school parents are hearing about playground schedules. It may not be relevant to them. So what we also did was after every meeting, we issued a survey and we also issued a thought exchange. Many of you on this call are familiar with thought exchange. That's our way of having somewhat of two-way communication, if you will. Parents will respond to a question, an open-ended question. They give their response and they give their reasons why. Other people who are respondents on the list are allowed to rate those responses, and the highest rated responses go to the top. What we found is with thought exchange and with the thought exchange that there were common themes that came up. Each exchange had roughly over 200 different thoughts. So I'm not going to share them all here. We'll post them at another time. But there were common themes that came up with all of the thoughts, whether the thoughts were from teachers or whether they were just from parents. The common themes were transportation mandates. People were concerned about the children sitting on the buses together. That was a common theme. It was something that we saw as a common thread throughout all of the thought exchange. The other concern that came up was the mask mandates for students. As you know, we cannot mandate students to wear masks. They're highly recommended. We saw numerous responses about that. And the other is meeting the COVID standard ventilation. I want to be really, really clear. Meeting the COVID standard ventilation does not mean we had poor ventilation to begin with. What it means is that there are new standards for ventilation, and the district is working toward meeting those new standards. And so those concerns came up. As a result, working with my executive cabinet, my 2 assistant superintendents, and in consultation with our principals, our plan for September 2020 is as follows. We are going to start full remote learning through October 2nd for all students pre-K through 12. It is anticipated that the Greenburgh Central School District will begin to phase in students for in-person learning hybrid model beginning October 5th. Now, from the parent meetings, we explained to our families that the hybrid model will be an A-B model, meaning students who are in group A will be in school Monday through Thursday for in-person instruction. And then on Friday, students will be engaged in remote. The next week we flip it. Group B will be in school Monday through Thursday, and on Friday, the students will be engaged fully remote. I want to repeat once again, remote learning through October 2nd for all students grade pre-K through 12. It is anticipated that the district will phase in students to an in-person hybrid learning model beginning October 5th. So here's what all of that means. This means that school is going to begin September 8th for all staff and for all faculty. Everyone will be present for professional development, and within that, we're going to embed social emotional support for our staff and our faculty. Our staff and our faculty really need to get reacclimated to school, and we want to make sure that we are addressing any needs that they may have. On September 11th, we will start our online learning for all students. Now, I'll tell you what that format will look like, and Dr. Reynolds, of course, will share much more. This is an opportunity to test remote learning, to iron out any kinks that may be with technology, and it's also an opportunity for students to meet their teachers for the first time. In this format for full remote learning, students will have new teachers. So when we left in the spring, students were already accustomed to their teachers because it was March. This is a brand new school year. So we want to give kids an opportunity to meet their new teachers, to have conversations with their new teachers, to go over the expectations, and as well as we're going to do some activities to get kids excited about the beginning of school. GCSD will meet with families who are students with disabilities and our ENL. Those groups, we are very much so concerned about the fact that those students have been without in-person instruction. And so what we're going to do is set up meetings in the coming days with families who might have students within those particular categories, because we're interested in knowing what are their needs for the next couple of weeks while their students are learning remotely. We've heard concerns over the past couple of months, but we want to be able to provide a forum just for these families so that we can hear what their concerns are and begin to try to support them and rectify them any way we can. I want our families to know that ALP, AP courses, our honor courses, our IB courses, all of those signature courses that are here in the Greenburgh Central School District will still be in place, but they will be administered. They will be administered remotely through.
Vote on it.
They will be administered remotely through October 2nd. So we're going to talk a little bit about GCSD remote learning. And what I'm going to do is pass the baton over to our newly hired Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum, Instruction, and Personnel, Dr. Corey Reynolds.
Thank you very much, Dr. Chase. Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me? If you can hear me, give me a thumbs up, please. Excellent. So thank you very much for joining us this evening to find out what our learning is going to look like for the Greenburgh community. It was the goal of the district, it was the goal of the board to ensure that we went to a full one-to-one model in the event that we had to close down and present our instruction remotely. In order to meet that need, we are delivering Chromebooks for our students in grades 1 through 12 and kindergarten, and we're delivering, and for our pre-kindergarten and kindergarten students, we're delivering touchscreen devices. And we would like for this to take place next week. As of now, the implementation of the distribution will take place on 3 days next week for our current families. So on Monday, August 24th, for grades pre-kindergarten through 3rd, you may come through the Early Childhood Program Center, where we are going to do a drive-by pickup. The importance is ensuring that everyone is safe, even during this time, even though we're going to be outdoors. So we're going to ask that you remain in your car. A faculty or staff member will come over, get your paperwork, provide to you the device that you need. On Wednesday, August 26th, the same will happen at the Lee F. Jackson School. And finally, on Friday, August 28th, the same will happen at Highview School. Now, again, these are for our students in grades pre-K through 3. On those days, we're also going to address any replacements of devices that might be inoperable or they might not be working properly at those sites. For grades 4 through 12, your pickup will be on September 2nd. And that will occur at Early Childhood Program using the same drive-by pickup for, methodology that we'll be using for our Early Childhood Program students. So let me say those dates again. For grades pre-K through 3, You can pick up on Monday at Early Childhood Program, Wednesday at Lee F. Jackson, or on Friday at Highview School. Each of those dates, the hours of operation of this program will be from 9 a.m. until 1 p.m. For grades 4 through 12, we're asking that you come to the Early Childhood Program on September 2nd. And again, that will be from 9 a.m. until 1 p.m. On September 2nd, we will also address any newly enrolled students into the district for grades pre-K through 12. So anyone who's newly arriving to the district can pick up your devices on September 2nd at the Early Childhood Program. Forgive me. Moving on to our next point of communication, which will be teaching and learning. A lot of parents want to know what is the start time and the end time of school, what our student schedules will look like, attendance and grading. Being that we're moving to a fully remote program for the beginning of the school year, I want to focus our answers on that. So going into the full remote learning model, remote learning opportunities for students will include a greater emphasis on synchronous instruction. So we have prepared a single platform usage policy where we will be using Google Meet, Google Classroom for our synchronous teaching. We'll be able to provide live instruction and lessons to our students during that time. The goal is that while the recording of live lessons still need to be essential for students unable to attend at a scheduled time, we would like to focus our attention on live instruction. And in order to ensure high quality remote learning experiences, we will standardize the use of Google Meet and Google Classroom to meet the needs of our students and to help our facilitators and our practitioners to have a secure way to interact with our students. The start time and end time for synchronous teaching will continue to look the same as it did prior to the summer. So we are looking for instruction to take place 10 a.m. and end at 2 p.m. daily. People may ask now, well, isn't the school day much longer than that? Why is it that we're only getting 4 hours of a block for instruction? If you take into consideration the removal of the scheduled lunchtime, the removal of the preparation period, which would be the special area for your child, that still equates to about 4 hours of an instructional day. So we want to ensure that that time is continuous. We want to ensure that that time is available for all of our students, and we want to ensure that our teachers are prepared to deliver instruction to our children. Of course, understanding that they still need to meet the needs of their own children at home. So that allows for that flexibility. For our student schedules, full-time online instruction will be facilitated as we did at the closing of March 18th. So we need to prepare our students for that. Our schedules will be provided to you by your principals. So if they're not already in our home access center, which they are, I want you to please be in contact with your school principal to receive your child's learning and instruction. You'll also get continued conversation from your teachers with information that will help to align your day and the learning. For attendance, we are requiring that all parents notify the district by sending an email to one of 2 places. So if your child, and please get a paper and pencil handy, if your child is in grade pre-K through 6, you are going to email imo@greenbergcsd.org. Again, if you are in grades pre-K through 6, you will email imo@greenbergcsd.org in the event that your child is going to be absent on a day of school. If you're in grades 7 through 12, you're going to email attendance@greenbergcsd.org. Again, that's attendance@greenbergcsd.org if your child is going to be absent. If we do not hear from you and your child is visible through our synchronous learning, your child will be marked present. If we do not hear from you and your child is not visible during synchronous learning, our school community will reach out to you to ensure that everything is okay, double check, But if that communication is not able to be connected, we may mark your child absent and ask for an explanation. And finally, our grading practices will continue while we are remote, in the same manner that they were before the summertime. So our students in grades pre-K through 3 will receive a temporary mark of P for progressing, defined by student is developing their command of their knowledge, skills, and practices embodied in the grade level standards. For grades 4 through 6, if your students are present every day and they're doing their work, they will receive an indicator of COM, which is short for complete, of PAR, which is short for partial complete, or INC, which means incomplete, they have not produced the work that they're supposed to. And this is based on completion and submission of assignments and academic participation. That's the important part. And we'll get into how we're going to ensure your child is visibly participating in instruction in a moment. And for our students in grades 7 through 12, students will follow the traditional grading model and policy as assigned by the numeric grades for the first marking period. So we would like to have a quick conversation. I'm going to turn it back over to Dr. Chase as it relates to our grab and go meals and to our childcare.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And, you know, I noticed that in the chat, some of the parents are asking, wait a second, this is too much to write down. We're going to actually send you a memo tomorrow. You'll have all of this in both Spanish and English, and it'll also be posted on our website under Reopening GCSD responsibly and safely. So you'll find it in those 2 locations. So don't get worried about writing it down and trying to listen at the same time. Grab and go meals. We're still going to provide meals for our students who are enrolled in the Greenburgh Central School District, just as we did when we closed school in March, just as we did or are doing currently during the summertime. We haven't necessarily decided quite yet as to the locations for those grab and go meals. You will get information in the coming days. We just have to finalize a couple of things, but please know that we will start grab and go while the students are remotely learning. Now, once we start going back into the phase-in process of the hybrid model, the anticipated phase-in process, the grab and go will look a little bit different for those parents who will opt into hybrid, and we'll get into that just very, very shortly. But for right now, as we're talking about grab and go, if you have opted for a hybrid model in October, the last day that your child is in school for that week that they're in for that Thursday, they will get meals that will satisfy them until they actually come back. And those meals will be accompanied with instructions for freezing, for refrigeration, and also for heating and warming up food. But we'll get into that as we move later down the line. But I just want parents to know that the district does have a plan for feeding students, whether we're going to be fully remote and when we go into our eventual phase-in process. I want to talk about childcare because I know that childcare continues to be a concern. And the Greenburgh Central School District, we understand that. We understand that not only do you send your children to school to be educated, but it also serves as a safe place for your children to be while you're at work. And not all parents are working remotely. That being said, we've reached out to a couple of agencies, one being the Child Care Council of Westchester. And the Child Care Council of Westchester has identified several sites, and I'm going to take you through this, and I'm going to share this with you tomorrow. If you take a look at this map that is coming up, all right, Wi-Fi, you worked for me today. If you take a look at the map that's coming up, you will notice that these little dots represent a variety of child care facilities. We're very, very lucky and fortunate to have established a relationship with the Child Care Council of Westchester, in that you will see, if you go to our website under Reopening GCSD Responsibly and Safely, you will find that there is a phone number with an extension to a person who will work with our families to find proper child care for the families based on their needs. She is a referral agent. Basically, you call the number, you'll speak to the person who is at that particular extension. You'll let the person know that you are a family of Greenburgh Central School District. They will ask you a series of questions to find out what your needs are and try to match you to childcare. That's one area. Secondly, we're very fortunate to have on the Zoom call with us the commissioner of the Theodore Young Community Center, Mr. Andre Early. Mr. Andre Early and I have been in conversation about the possibility of childcare right here in our community. Many of our children are familiar with the community center, so I think having that familiarity might be helpful to some children while while they are working remotely. We talked about the students bringing their laptops to the community center in a safe environment, obviously, and students possibly getting some assistance with their work while they're there. In addition, the Greenburgh Central School District will still provide food for those parents who will opt for that particular option. Now, I'm going to warn you, even though Mr. Early is on the call right now, please don't call him quite yet. We're just sort of finalizing what that will look like. And in the couple of days, you'll have more information about TDYCC being a possible partnership while the students are remotely learning. So we've identified some possible sources for childcare for our families. It's not an exhaustive list by no stretch of the imagination. In fact, what we have discovered, what we have discovered was that there's actually another list, and I will provide that list at a later date once it is firmed. And that particular list is actually through Westchester County. So through the Youth Bureau, there's actually another list for childcare. So we're looking at all the options that could be afforded to our families for childcare as we are sort of navigating through this pandemic, and we're navigating through these uncertain times. You can just bear with me a little bit. I'm just going to pick up where we left off. And all of the information that I'm sharing with you today can definitely be found on our site. Okay. So Dr. Reynolds talked about our students working remotely, and also to our teachers providing that instruction remotely. For privacy purposes, what we're going to do is supply not only our children, but also our teachers, our staff, anyone who is a member of the Greenburgh Central School District family, possible virtual backgrounds so that we can respect your privacy at home. So if you're uncomfortable with showing your home for whatever reason, and that's particularly fine, and there may be some children who may not want, backgrounds to be seen, and the same goes for staff, we respect your privacy and we honor that. So we have started to work on a variety of choices for you for virtual backgrounds. I'm just going to share a couple of them with you. It's not an exhaustive list. Our world-class PR team is working on a few more. So by the time we open school September 8th for our teachers, you'll have quite a few choices. This is one. This is another, sort of like a step and repeat. With this one, if you look on the right side, this is where you will be situated, right here on the right, and you'll see a partial Greenburgh Central School District emblem. And this is a full. And so these are just some of the choices that you might have for a virtual background. This allows for uniformity. And again, it focuses on the privacy of our learners as well as our educators. So the Greenburgh Central School District knows that it has a lot of work to do so that we can be COVID ready to provide in-person hybrid instruction for our students. We want to make sure that we get it right, and we only have one opportunity to get it right. We have all seen examples of situations that did not go as planned, and we want to try to avoid that as much as possible. So we believe that allowing for more time will give us the opportunity to get it right for our children and for our community. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to continue to communicate with you, our families, with our community, with our staff and our faculty. We'll be giving you updates. We're going to bombard you, and I apologize in advance for those SM messages through School Messenger, for the yay that you get with the mobile app, but you're going to get information on a regular about the advances that we're making and the progress that we're making toward an anticipated in-person hybrid model. One of the things that we talked about during our parent meeting this week was we talked about having a third party to give us the final thumbs up on the ventilation. I can tell you, as your superintendent, I am not comfortable with opening school until we have that third party quality assurance for our ventilation. Ventilation came up as a common theme through our survey and also through our thought exchange. And I see that it is definitely a topic that is pretty much widespread throughout the state of New York, from what I'm made to understand. But here at the Greenburgh Central School District, we want to make sure that we meet all of the standards that were set by CDC as well as the Department of Health for ventilation. So we will make sure that those quality assurances are in place. Parent option. I spoke a little bit earlier about parent option, sort of opting in and out. We're going to send you separately an option form so that when we are prepared for in-person instruction, you will opt to remain remote or to send your child to school for in-person hybrid instruction. We'll give you some instructions and more information about that in the coming days. We want to make sure that we have enough time to analyze the data that we receive from these forms, how many parents are opting for remote, how many parents are opting for hybrid, and that we have the proper faculty and we have the proper infrastructure set up so that education will be seamless and that there are no interruptions. What we also would like to do is provide you all, our families and our educators who are on the line, and also those of us who are in civil service, everyone who's part of this community, a virtual tour of our facilities. We want you to be comfortable. Part of what the governor asked us to do was to reach out to our families to make sure that they're comfortable with the model. You all responded that you were not comfortable. So that means there's work that we have to do. And I take responsibility for that as a superintendent to make sure that you see the work that we're doing and that we provide you with the information and answer your questions. So we're going to provide virtual tours. Unfortunately, I can't have you come into the buildings, but what I can do is bring the buildings to you, and we can do that virtually. You'll get to see our facilities. You'll get to see maybe a simulation of kids riding the bus and what that might look like. Some of you were uncomfortable with that, but we want you to take a look at it and then give us some feedback. And so we want to make sure that you're comfortable. This is a very difficult moment. This is a very trying time. There's many, many uncertainties. It's our responsibility to make sure you as a parent, as the end user with your children, are comfortable with the model that we set up. So, more information is forthcoming. I'm coming to the end of this presentation. More information is forthcoming. You will be receiving school-based packets. I want to thank our principals, many of whom have given up their vacation time to work on building information for you, building the schedule, work on building their reopening plan by building their own task force. They've been on meetings, they've been parent meetings, and many of them have worked very, very hard to make sure that we will be ready by the time that we're prepared for in-person instruction. As I indicated in the previous slide, there will be information videos for our families. Again, we want to make sure that because you can't come into the buildings, that we bring the buildings to you and that you're comfortable. There will be other opportunities for us to meet. We're going to actually host another meeting with our families. I'm happy to do that. I'm happy to meet with you guys and answer your questions as you might need through a town hall meeting. I actually enjoyed meeting with you guys, even though I think we have about accumulated hours of about 15 hours of meetings, and our board members were troopers and they met with us, and it was a lot. But we want to meet with you again because we recognize that you guys have questions, and we want to make sure that you're comfortable with this process. And as I indicated earlier, we're going to meet with our ENL families. These are our English as a new learners families, and we're going to meet with our families with students with disabilities, and I'll be right there with those administrators to hear those parents' concerns and see if we can try to find solutions to some of those concerns. There is our website. Obviously, if you go to our Greenburgh Central School District website, there is a button titled Reopening GCSD. I'm sorry, I apologize. You can also get information, I'm getting ahead of myself. You can also get information by sending us an email to reopeninggcsd@greenburghcsd.org. Many of you have already taken advantage of that email address. That email address was designed just for our school community so that you can ask your questions. Many of you have gotten responses already, or some of your questions were answered during our town hall meetings. And so please feel free to continue to use that email address to ask your questions, and you better believe you will get a response. I'm going to encourage you to sign up for School Messenger if you have not. During our parent meeting, some of you parents have sent me private messages asking to make sure that your email address is added to that information. You need to have your email address added so that you can get real-time information. I'm going to be sending out a lot of communication to you all in the coming days, in the coming weeks, and it's important that you see it firsthand. I'm also going to ask that you sign up for the mobile app. When we do come back into school, you will have to complete a health screen, and you'll do that through the mobile app. But the mobile app also provides great information for families, and we're going to begin populating that information so that you'll have it on your cell phone as well. You will also find our district calendar on the mobile app, and that might be very, very helpful to you. We're going to encourage you to sign on to social media. We put information on our social media. Families also share information from our page to their page to other families who may not be virtually connected to the district, but it's another way of sharing information with others who may not necessarily be inclined to come to meetings such as this or to even sign up for School Messenger. Another way of the village helping one another, and it's also another way of sharing information. If you have technology issues with your child's Chromebook or your child's touchscreen device, if you are in pre-K, you know that team@greenbergcsd.org is always available. I want to thank our technology team for doing a magnificent job throughout this entire process, and they will continue to do just that. You are encouraged, families, to go onto our website, and there is a button titled Reopening GCSD Responsibly and Safely. Go onto that website so that you can see information. You will also see the process that we took with the task force meetings. You'll see the videos, you'll see the notes, you'll see the PowerPoint presentations. If in fact you miss any of the parent meetings, you'll get the audio version of it, and you'll also see the PowerPoint presentations. But you know that you can always reach us through Greenberg GCSD, Reopening GCSD at greenbergcsd.org. Or some of you just send me an email directly. Many of you have done that, and that's perfectly fine as well. You can send an email to any one of the administrators. We're happy to help you. I'm going to end. We are Greenberg CSD strong. We were made for this moment. I have been in this district for going on 8 years now. I have watched this district at a low point. I have watched this district at a high point. This can be a high point for our district when we continue to work together. At our parent meeting, we talked about the Denmark model. I don't have to repeat that. Many of you remember. And what was significant about the Denmark model was you had parents, teachers unions, elected officials, board members, community members, all working together. This is an opportunity for us to put our differences to the side and work together because our children are relying on us. I've watched us help each other. I've watched the Greenberg Cares Committee reach out to families. I've watched some of you reach out to your neighbors. I've watched you reach out for other people's children. Now is the time for us to come together even stronger as a community, rely on one another, and continue to be Greenberg strong. While I have the last 2 minutes, I'd like to say something to the teachers who are watching. I heard you loud and clear, teachers. I have been working with your union leader, Mr. James Bell, who has worked with me, and I've worked with him. We have a very healthy working relationship. I think that you all have such an amazing impact on students. When you meet our kids on September 11th in this new model, you have the power to make them feel fabulous. I have no doubt in my mind, because I know I have the best teachers on earth, that you will do just that. You will make sure that our children are well cared for, just as you've done throughout this entire process. And you will do all that you can to provide for our children. I am relying on you. Our families need you more than any other time, teachers. To our parents, you have been wonderful partners to all of us here at the Greenberg Central School District. And by partners, I mean we have worked together. We may not always agree on decisions, but we've worked together because we know that it's in the best interest of our children. We're part of your village. You've trusted the Greenburgh Central School District, and we ask for your continued trust as we make some corrections and begin to phase in opening our schools. Parents, we need you just as much as you need us. So let's continue to work together. Let's continue to collaborate. Let's continue to remember the Denmark model. And if there are any students who are listening, I want you to know that we all miss you. The other day, we actually saw some of our students from Highview and Lee F. Jackson, and it brought cold chills to the administrators, I would say to the board members, and even to some of the other parents where they got to see their children's friends. We can't wait to see your faces. I know that some of these decisions that we're making are pretty tough to swallow, but just know we're making them because we care about you and we want you to be safe. I've always said that a decision that I make as a superintendent is the same decision that I would want someone to make for my own children. So just know that we have your backs. We know you want to get back into your school, and trust me, we want to see you back in the schools. The halls are empty. It's no fun without you. But just give us a few more minutes, if you will, and I don't mean minutes, but give us some time to get things right, and we'll all be back together really, really soon. I want to thank the unions. I want to thank the staff, the faculty, the fabulous administrators, the board members, the parents, all of the students, and the community of Greenburgh for being patient, for being resilient, for being flexible, for being adaptable. We are in this together for the long haul. If there are any questions, we look forward to answering your questions, and we look forward to continuing this journey together. I want to thank the task force for their hard work. We spent countless hours putting together a reopening plan, and I have to tell you, that plan was one great plan. You did a magnificent job. We are Greenburgh strong. I thank everyone for their attention, and I give the meeting back to the board. Before I do that, I just want to say, board, our recommendation is for a delayed start with in-person. We will begin remote, and then we will phase our children in. We hope, board members, that you understand our reasoning for making this recommendation, and we look forward to your support, and we look forward to working with you as we phase our children back into school. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Chase. All right, so Terry, I believe you are still the host.
No, they have, here the host is listed as Dr. Chase with Antoinette and Ashley Pineda as co-hosts.
I'm happy to give up my host rights.
So, all right, so Tracy, can you can go through it as well, all the chats, right?
Yes.
All right, Dr. Chase, don't give it up, Dr. Chase.
Okay, because believe it or not, I have the upgraded version of Zoom where I can make anyone a co-host. I'm looking at it right now. It's an option. I have the option to make someone a host, and I have the option to make someone a co-host.
So, and you'll still keep your status too?
I'll keep my status. So you just let me know how you want me to do this.
So make me a host too, and could you just make sure all the board members are co-hosts or hosts so they can interact too?
I don't know. You're already a co-host.
Okay.
So you're good. I still see Ashley Pineda as a co-host.
That's good.
That's fine. Okay.
Yep.
I'm going to try to make Tracy Mears a co-host. Yay. I did it. She's a co-host. Anybody else?
Tanya.
So you just want, okay. So while Ms. Mears is going over the questions, what I'll do is for the sake of time, I'll just spend time just making every board member a co-host.
All right. Okay, everyone. Tracy is going to go through the chat. Please remember, we've had 5, this is meeting 6, if we count this one as well. So a lot of the questions that have been popping up are questions that were generated and have been asked in previous questions. So if we don't get to all of them, I want you to know a couple of things. That one, there is a current FAQ, Dr. Chase, if I'm correct, right, that is available that people can go and see those responses. And then any questions that we do not get through today or tonight, whether it's from, and Laser also has been taking questions from the YouTube live chat and putting them into this chat. So any questions that we cannot get to in our time frame, that also will be added to the FAQs, and that will be made available on the website as well. All right, Tracy.
Okay, so I'm gonna set my timer, Antoinette, for 30 minutes because you said 30 minutes worth of questions and answers. Okay. So here we go. First question that I see that was not answered by someone else is, my senior son still has his from last year. Does he need a new one? I'm assuming that we're talking about the Chromebooks. So does he need a new Chromebook if he still has his from last year?
Dr. Reynolds.
So no, if your son has a Chromebook from last year, it's still fully functional and operable. You do not need a new Chromebook.
Okay, thank you.
And Dr. Reynolds, if there is issues, someone just needs to, is there a particular place someone needs to contact so they can get it serviced or fixed?
You can just bring it on any of those dates that we stated, and that will be made public to everyone, and you can get it switched out.
And the dates will be posted on the website?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, awesome.
And Dr. Reynolds, I just want to add, if someone can't make that date, should they reach out to team at Greenberg?
Yes.
All right, so I'm going to put that in the chat for everyone, okay?
Thank you, Dr. Trace. Yep, that's good.
Okay. Next question is, will students who did not have Chromebooks in the spring be able to receive Chromebooks next week?
Students who did not have Chromebooks in the spring will be able to receive Chromebooks next week. For those who are already registered in the school district. If you are new to the district, we are requesting that you come to the Early Childhood Program building on September 2nd between the hours of 9 and 1 to receive your Chromebooks. But if you were in the district last year and you didn't receive a Chromebook, yes, you can come on any of the dates to receive a Chromebook.
How do you know if your child is in ALP this year? If they were in it last year, should we assume they are in ALP this year?
The answer to that question is yes. If your child was in ALP last year, they will continue in ALP this year.
Will there be any breaks between 10 to 2? I'm going to assume that means the 7 through 12 grade schedule, Dr. Reynolds, that you explained 10 through 2, or is it pre-K through 12,
so
10 through 2, and are there any breaks?
Very good question. Thank you, Trustee Maris. So at this point, the goal is to have breaks for all of our students pre-K through 12. We do understand that the time frame of 4 hours sitting in a continuous state is a little bit long. So that will be up to the teachers to design. But yes, the intent is for there to be some breaks within that 4-hour period.
So that, thank you. That also answers this question that kindergarten is going to be 4 hours at a desk with a computer. I heard him say yes, and breaks will be up to the teacher.
Yes.
Okay. All of this info would be sent to parents, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So that I'm clear, an instructor will be live teaching students rather than pre-taped videos on a daily basis.
So on August 20th at 7:04 p.m., the intent of the district is to have live teaching for all of our students. Again, that is contingent on several things. Bandwidth is contingent upon, I believe it or not, the Earth's atmosphere, and I'm not being facetious in saying that. If we have a solar flare, that will affect what happens to our technology. So if everything is in its perfect state, the intent of the district is that there will be live teaching for all of our students. There will be a mixture of some pre-recorded or maybe pre-paired information and teaching that will help to prepare the students for the next day's lesson. But again, the intent is to have live teaching.
Is this daily, oh, the same question about the schedule and the 4 hours. I think we answered that. Is this daily requirement in addition to what the teachers require on the Google Chats? I'm not fully sure about that question, so I don't know if administration understands that fully.
No, I'm not fully clear with that question. I'm going to interpret that to mean the Google chat will take place concurrently with the Google Classroom and Google Meet. So students can put in some questions into the Google chat while the class is actually meeting if they're not able to be recognized during live teaching. I'm also going to interpret that to mean if there's any need for additional support or questions, there will still be the use of emails to teachers, so teachers can respond to those questions and add it to the learning for the next day.
Correct.
Okay, are you going to send us emails when we can pick up the Chromebook for our children, or is it just going to be posted? Are there going to be individual emails?
I am going to take into recommendation the possibility of sending emails. I'll check that with our technology department, but it will definitely be posted on our website. And hopefully we can send out a phone blast as well. So maybe we can do that.
We can.
Okay.
We can.
Someone asked if you reviewed pre-K and Highview third grade. You did. Schedules, they said, would be provided by the principal. Where can we access that on the website?
So currently, after conferring with Mr. Smith and with his team, I know that most of the schedules are prepared in the Home Access Center for our secondary students. As it relates to our elementary students, those schedules will be forthcoming. Our teachers are learning at the same time as our families that we are moving to a full remote learning program. So those schedules still will be prepared and they'll be sent home by all of our teachers. The conduit could be the principal of each building, but it will be posted on our websites.
Okay. My kids have their Chromebooks from last year. Are they getting new Chromebooks? I noticed in the presentation, it says hotspot. Are the kids getting a hotspot?
As it relates to hotspots, we have a very limited number of hotspots for our families who do not have any internet connection capabilities, whether it's cable or whether it's wired internet in the household. There's a very specified process that will be necessary for you to procure the hotspots. We are going to make that information available on our website as well, how to go about trying to get a hotspot. But again, I want to be very cautious in stating that we have a limited number, and these will be free to persons who are in need and based on the criteria to receive.
Okay. How do we do asynchronous SEL, which is social emotional learning, for those that don't know that all the acronyms?
Yeah.
How do you do asynchronous social emotional learning?
So asynchronous social emotional learning can be in the form that you might be used to from last year. So it might be a pre-recorded exercise. It might be a pre-recorded message, meditation, where the students can then practice what is being instructed in at any time that they would like to. So the difference between asynchronous and synchronous, I mean, even though it's one letter, it has a huge difference, right? So asynchronous means that it takes place, that everybody gets the same thing, but not necessarily at the same time. Synchronous means it's all happening at the same time, and that's what we refer to as live teaching. So if we are doing a yoga meditation type of a project for our physical education class that week, our PE teacher may pre-record that, put that on at that time, and then the students, while they're not able to interact in live real time, they're able to receive that instruction and carry through with the practice, almost like a pre-recorded lesson for them.
Okay, thank you. And what's ALP? That's Advanced Learning Program for that. That might have been answered by someone else, but I just want to answer it because it's here.
Yeah.
What is the plan for after October 2nd, and when will we be notified of that?
So we're going to keep you posted every step of the way. Every step of the way, whether we are ready for October 2nd or whether we're not. I'm not going to sit here and fabricate to you that, you know, we're going to be super ready. The goal is October 2nd, and we're working very, very hard to meet that goal, but we will communicate with you every step of the way. And if we feel that we will not meet that goal for whatever reason, or the positivity rates have increased, because that's another thing, we're looking at positivity rates. We don't know where we're going to be in the state of New York in October. We know that we're entering flu season. Our governor just yesterday talked about flu season is upon us. And so we just have to take a look and see where we are, and we will let you know.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Chase. Should we expect a summer packet from school with our child's teacher information?
Yes.
Thank you. My daughter is going to second grade at Highview in special education. Can I call the school tomorrow?
You or me? Who's going to do this one, Corey? Me. All right, repeat the question. He threw it back at me. Repeat the question.
My daughter is going to second grade at Highview in special education. Can I call the school tomorrow?
Yes, you can. But if you're calling the school about your daughter's requirements, I'm going to ask that parent to just send me an email in about 1 hour. Let's talk offline.
Dr. Chase's email is tchase@greenbergcsd.org.
And my phone number is 914-555-1212.
Right. Okay.
I'll put it in the chat. I'll put it in the chat, my email.
Well, can someone let me know who is on the chat? How are they reopening? Okay. Will parents receive a full tutorial on Google Classroom, etc.?
Yeah, that's a great question. We vowed to work with our parents and to educate our parents on how to use our online platforms. We're still going to do that. And as we move closer to bringing our students back in the phase-in model, we also want to educate our parents on helping your children to keep the mask on, how to engage in respiratory and hand hygiene. But for right now, because remote learning is our priority in terms of learning right now, we will educate our parents, we'll support our parents. And just as our teachers did in the spring, your teachers got your back. I'm pretty confident they will continue to have your back. You can always reach out to the teachers and ask them to serve as support to you, but we will provide that for families.
Thank you.
You got it.
Is it fully remote for all schools? Yes, until October 2nd. We will be kept up to date.
Yes.
Dr. J, she said she will get in contact with us.
Yes.
Would help or volunteers for Chromebook handouts be needed or wanted?
Oh, that's kind. I think we have it covered though, but that's really kind. Can you just make sure that we just know that parent's name in case we need them to volunteer, and whoever offered to volunteer, we thank you.
Are there fees associated with the child care services that will be offered?
Some yes, some no. That's why it's important to speak to the referral director. That person will give you more information, but some yes and some no.
Dr. Reynolds stated that for pre-K, it will be a drive-by pickup at early childhood program this Monday. My twins are new incoming students. Do I need to bring anything with me in order to pick up 2 new devices?
Yes, we'll detail what you'll need to have in your possession. That will be a part of the blast that we'll send out, as well as the information that will be located on the website.
This is a child care question, I believe. It says, are these centers going to follow the school program?
That is the desire. We will share with these centers what our plan is. I will speak on behalf of TDYCC because I have, we in our district have a personal relationship with them. They will follow our program. Mr. Early and I are in close communication. He knows so many of you and so many of our families. So we have full confidence in their ability to follow our program.
Okay, this is a long question, but if I understand correctly, it is too unsafe to send the children to school buildings, but we are to send them to child care centers where they will congregate at the same or higher density, mingling with children from other districts. Does anyone see the fallacy in that logic?
So the reason why we brought up childcare is we want to give parents an option if they cannot keep their children at home. And so it's only an option. We're not saying that you're required to use it. It's just an option.
Let's see. How will the pre-K be fully engaged doing remote learning?
Our wonderful teachers will be banding together to prepare lessons, to prepare schedules for the day. We want to make sure for our youngest and our newest learners that their day is mostly filled with total physical response as opposed to paper and pencil, right? So we can get bogged down with the coloring in and all of that other stuff, but we want to ensure that our students are fully engaged and that there's a total physical response to the interaction and the learning.
Okay, thank you. And this question is, can we assume parents still have the option of keeping their children home for remote learning after October?
Yes, that will be an option. And in the coming days, parents will get an option form and they can fill it out. They can continue with remote, or they can opt to send their children in for in-person hybrid instruction.
Will there be a policy where students will have to show their faces? I'm assuming that means in remote learning.
So that would be the desire. At this point, we are making everything possible to protect privacy so that students can be visible during instructional time. The reason for that is because we know that there might have been one or two, maybe I was that child when I was younger, who would turn my screen off and be MIA during instruction. So we want to prevent that from happening. We also want to shore up our attendance policy, so this way we'll know if somebody's interacting or not. And we want to see the feedback. Oftentimes there's a difference between the art and science of teaching. So the art of teaching is really looking at your students' feedback, monitoring the best way possible, and trying to maybe proactively attend to a student's need. And that can only be done if we're able to see our students.
Will pre-K have the same school hours as what was stated on Tuesday?
So if we go into a hybrid model, yes, pre-K will have that same the same time that was discussed on Tuesday. If we move into the remote learning model, then our days of instruction will be between 10 and 2, and that would be for in-person instruction. Sorry, that would be for in-person, no, that will be for remote instruction with a live person.
This isn't in the form of a question, but I'm going to make it one. Are there specific specifications that are needed to use a virtual background?
So
No, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
No, if you have one of our devices, and as long as you're using our platform, you'll be able to utilize that virtual background without having to do anything. Hopefully our technology team will be able to front load that so that when the camera comes on, it'll automatically be on.
Thank you. Is there any hope that we might go to full person or full in-person before the end of the year? I don't know if they mean school year or 2021.
I understand. You know what, to be honest with you, I think that's the hope of everyone, right? That we want to bring everyone back together again, like the way it was. We'll see if in fact the density reduction requirement is lifted. I don't know if it's going to be lifted. It all depends on the executive order. We're required to reduce the density as it relates to social distancing, and we're going to adhere to it until it's lifted. But it is the hope and the dream and the wish for all of us.
Why does it seem like the steps are just starting now when we've known since September that school was closed and that a new school year was coming?
Can you repeat that question? Because it said since September. I was a little confused.
I'll just read it as it's written. Why does it seem like the steps to get kids into school is just starting now when we have known since March that schools were closed, that September and a new school year was coming?
Yeah, actually, we've been working on preparing for this year back in March. We started preparing by stockpiling. We started having conversations. And we even started writing our plan before the actual Department of Health and the New York State Education Department issued their plans. But when those plans came, it had to shift our plans just a little bit. This is why it might appear that we just started, but we got those plans somewhere around mid-July, and we had to shift what we were thinking in our heads to adhere to those plans. And that's where we are right now.
And if I could piggyback Dr. Chase,
Sure.
We also have to be mindful of the time frame in which the governor made his decision about whether schools would open or not. So that decision was made formally on August 7th.
Correct.
Which is not even 2 weeks old yet. So that's why we're still in this process at this point in time.
How is the option form being sent? And I'm gonna guess that that's the option form
Yep.
in October, that relates to October, if you want to choose hybrid or remote only.
Sure, that's going to be sent via email. So that's why we encourage everyone to go on to School Messenger and sign up, because you're going to get that via email. We'll also have that option form posted onto our Reopening GCSD Responsibly and Safely webpage. So you'll be able to access it there as well.
Will the teachers be teaching from their homes or their classrooms?
For right now, as of August 20th, 7/21, our teachers will be teaching from home.
Okay, great. Have your custodians been COVID-19 trained? If yes, by who?
Mr. Falcone, are you on?
Yes, I'm on.
Okay. Do you mind taking that one?
I would like to, can you clarify COVID trained? I mean, my staff is trained to disinfect and clean, and any new information that came out there, they're educated, meaning they're informed on the procedures that we're going to be taking care of.
So they're updated on any new cleaning procedures, you're saying?
They're updated if there's something new that's out there. Yes.
And by whom, the question said.
By whom? By me. Okay. I end up relaying to them what is brought to my attention.
And Mr. Falcone, if you don't mind, if I can piggyback on your response. So the Department of Health and the CDC sends specific requirements as it relates to disinfecting and cleaning surfaces as it relates to COVID. Those are sent to agencies. And the head of that department for that agency is a person to receive the information, to receive the tutorial, and then to have to turnkey that to faculty and staff. What may be questioned is the COVID response cleaning, and there are specified agencies that are licensed to do that. Most general agencies will not have that training, nor is it available for most generalized agencies, and we will not meet the criteria because we are not we're not a CDC required cleaning company.
Okay, so when there's specific COVID-19 exposure and it has to be cleaned, we're getting another company to come in, is what you're saying?
No, if that's the need, and that would have to be prescribed by the CDC as well as the Department of Health. We could not just say we have a COVID case and we would like for a company to come in. One would not be dispatched to us. The CDC, the Department of Health, New York State Education Department would have to determine that need, and they would dispatch it to us if necessary. And I don't think there's been any cases of that in New York State at this point.
Now, and I also just want to underscore and reiterate that our custodians are really working very, very hard. And they are working with Mike Falcone. We are using products that are EPA certified products. We're using hospital grade products, and they are wiping down and will continue to wipe down. They'll be wiping high surface areas. We'll be cleaning our buildings every day. We will be sanitizing our buses twice a day, windows open on the buses, even while the students are on it as well. So the cleaning protocols that we've actually started back in, I think it was February, even before COVID actually forced us to close our buildings. We started this work back in the wintertime. And so this is the same work that we've been doing, and it's been proven successful, and they will continue to work in that vein.
Okay. I'm going to try to rephrase this one a little bit. So how will, if we go hybrid, and as a parent, I choose for my child to return in hybrid, how will the staff choose if the child's in group A or group B, which grouping it's in?
Right. So they won't get to choose that. That's going to be done at the school level. And what we're also going to be focused on is making sure that we keep families together. So if Corey's my brother, and I see Miss Flowers is here, and Miss Flowers is my sister, I won't be on A and my siblings on B. We'll all be on A together. So we'll make those determinations.
Can parents change their decision for remote or hybrid each month, or is it for the full school year?
So, Dr. Reynolds, I'm going to ship that one over to you.
Sure. So we consider that, and we want to be very transparent and very clear. Any family who chooses to come back to in-person teaching during the hybrid model, and they no longer feel safe or secure or what have you with their children being in the building, you may always let us know that you would like to go to the remote learning model. But we would not be able to facilitate that for someone who's on the remote learning model, just coming back into school whenever they feel like it. The reason being is there's a lot of planning that takes place, and we have to ensure that we have the proper numbers of students and distance planning for our students and our staff. So for any family who has chosen to be on the remote learning model, who wants to come back into in-person learning, we would ask that you indulge us, allow you to come in during a natural break. We haven't determined what those breaks will be yet. At this point, we're looking at the beginning of a new marking period, and that would be the natural threshold to allow somebody to come from the remote learning into in-person learning in a hybrid model.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Is the staff development in September in school or remote?
It's going to be remote. We're going to start with remote for staff development.
Okay. How long has ventilation system been inoperable?
Mr. Falcone? And I'm assuming we're talking about one particular school?
Oh, I don't know. It just says how long has ventilation.
Ventilation has been working in all of our buildings. I mean, there is one building that hasn't worked probably, I know, as one of my workers been there for 30 years and it's never been turned on. And those motors are fried.
Okay. When moved to hybrid mode, why online for all Friday?
Friday allows us the opportunity to engage the children in enrichment. We might have some children who are struggling. We don't want the child to go into the next week struggling. So it allows us some opportunity to provide enrichment for our students. It also allows us an opportunity to focus on SEL, not just for our students, but also for our staff and faculty. It allows students to work with their teachers, maybe on an individual or a small group basis. So we're using that Friday as a way to prepare for the next week, make sure that students are caught up, make sure that we have our lessons prepared for the next week, and also to address any of those SEL concerns that may exist. Also will allow us an opportunity to do some job embedded PD for our staff, which will be needed throughout the school year.
Okay, I'm gonna go fast because we have less than 3 minutes. Who will we communicate with if we need a schedule change?
The principal, school
Are we-
principal.
Are we still doing Wellness Wednesdays?
Wellness Wednesday was one of my favorite days. It might be Feel Good Friday.
How are you handling kids who are having special therapy like OT that was supposed to take place during the school day now that we're remote?
So this is why we're having that special meeting. Please look for that. Jill Post will address those needs. And those particular parents who are asking those questions, feel free to send me an email, tchase@greenbergcsd.org.
Are you going to communicate by text?
Yes, through School Messenger.
What is the name of the app? I'm not sure which app.
Blazer, can you put it in the group chat? How can they access the app, please? Next.
If comfortable, can we opt in for full in-classroom learning once we go hybrid?
That will not be an option because of the density reduction, but it would have to be an in-person hybrid model.
Will the reopening process be posted this evening on the Greenberg website?
No, it will be posted tomorrow.
Why would we bring the kids back to school in October when it starts to get colder versus September when it's warmer?
Well, we figured October will give us enough time to correct anything that needs to be corrected. And listen, at the end of the day, we want our children to have in-person instruction just as much as the teachers do, just as much as the administrators do, and many of our parents and even our kids. So we're going to try to work to get kids in and give parents still an option if they want to continue to work in a remote fashion.
I don't know if you answered this, but will teachers be at the school for remote learning or will they be teaching from their home?
As of right now, they'll be teaching from home.
Okay. And with classes being from 10 to 2, how will the appropriate amount of learning be completed?
Want to take that one, Dr. Reynolds?
Sure. So if you look at our day now, we have about 4 hours of instruction in our 6-hour day. If you take into consideration a lunchtime as well as a special area class, the actual classroom instructional time with teachers is about 4 hours. So that's why we created that 4-hour block for instruction during this time.
Okay, thank you. They need clarity on model A and B that will be online.
Yes.
Are there links for the school messenger app on school messenger and app on the website?
So we'll make sure we put it on the website. Laser's going to put it in the chat so that everyone will have access to it. I think it's there now. I'm not sure.
I need help with parent portal. Who do they contact?
Team@greenbergcsd.org. I'll put it in the chat again.
Okay, time is up, and I have 90 new messages I didn't even get to, so I don't even know how many questions are there. What happens with all of this all of the questions in this chat?
So what happens is the questions that were answered already, they've been answered. Those that were not answered, and we recognize we want to make sure we answer everyone's question as best as we can, that'll be part of the FAQ. So you'll probably will see that maybe your exact question won't be answered because we're getting a lot of repetitiveness. So we're going to just sort of filter through that and make sure that we put in the FAQ because we want your answers, I want your questions answered. If in fact you don't see it and you might need more clarification, don't hesitate to use the Reopening GCSD at greenbergcsd.org. We're happy to answer your questions.
Dr. Chase, real quick. To everyone here, anyone who sent me questions directly, I also sent them to Dr. Chase, so they will also be included in the FAQs.
Yes.
And Dr. Chase, do we know around a date that we might have the FAQs complete from all the meetings that we've kind of had?
So we've been working round the clock, guys. I have to tell you, weekends and you name it, we've been working late at night, 3 in the morning, have a thought. We're going to try to get it out ASAP. We're going to try to at least get some of them out by the weekend, tomorrow being Friday. We're going to try to get some of them out by the weekend. If you don't see yours, just know that it's forthcoming.
Thank you, Dr. Chase.
Absolutely.
I do have one quick question because this is one I haven't heard, but I think it's the easy one, Dr. Chase. BOCES participation, is that happening?
Yes. So Dr. Reynolds, do you want to just speak to that a little bit, please?
Sure. So at this point, BOCES has not formally announced what their programming is going to look like. I think what BOCES is trying to do is get an idea of where everybody else is before they make that announcement. So once we have that announcement, we'll be able to determine what the programming and the involvement will be.
Yeah.
Okay, Dr. Chase, I have one more, and don't kill me. How does lunchtime breaks work during remote?
So that's a scheduling question. I'll send that over to Dr. Reynolds.
Again, we are going to implore our teachers to build in whether it's a 15 or 20-minute break during the instructional day so that students and teachers can actually refresh themselves, whether it's with food, drink, or anything else.
Okay. All right, Tracy, thank you for moderating the chat. Dr. Chase and Dr. Reynolds, thank you so much for answering all of the questions that we have. We as a board, just to give people, we don't necessarily have to, let's say, vote on this, but we did want to have like a resolution for it, which we do not have that prepared today, but we do have another special meeting coming up on this Saturday. So we will do that to commemorate our support for this current reopening model. So that will happen and take place there. And we will also, a part of that resolution, which we definitely do have to have, we do have to appoint our COVID-19 safety coordinators.
Yes.
And The coordinators are Dr. Chase and Dr. Reynolds. So that's something that will also be included in that resolution as well. They are wearing many hats to make sure that our buildings, our staff, and our students are safe. We really appreciate all of your time and your questions as well. So thank you so much. Please, I'm sorry, Dr. Chase.
I just want the community to know that each building has a pandemic coordinator. So it's important to know that while Dr. Reynolds and I are the pandemic coordinators, some people make fun of us and call us the czars, but we are the pandemic coordinators for the district. There are building levels. So if you look at each building plan, you will see exactly who has been assigned as the pandemic coordinator. Obviously, ultimately, it's the principal, but there is a team. So please take a look at it.
Yes, also thank you, Ashley, for letting everyone in to our meeting. Appreciate your support on that. And again, just thank you so much, parents and families and staff, for just being patient as we had to wait for direction from the governor's office and everyone, Dr. Chase pulling together the task force and having a lot of stakeholders on there chiming in, giving in their ideas, sharing what we deem or what we think is best.
Can you hear me? What
Yes.
time is the meeting on Saturday?
Vicky, it's at 10 o'clock Saturday.
Talking about our board meeting, it's 10 o'clock. It should be posted on the website. No problem.
Thank you.
Yes, it's
Just
10
make sure
o'clock.
it's-
So thank you everyone for your participation in all of our meetings, for your questions, for your time. We really do appreciate it. And we thank everyone who's been a part of any task force, have provided any questions, any suggestions in making this road to reopening our schools as smoothly as it could be during these times. All right. Dr. Chase, I see you have a phone up.
I'm asking you to look at yours.
Okay. All right. BOE. Does anyone have any questions?
I have my hand up.
Because I've been in every single one of these meetings, so my brain is filled with it, and Tracy as well. Terry, I see your hand up. I don't see you, Miss Carrie, but I know you may have some. Ashley, I don't see you, but I know there are board members on here, so please pose your questions. Terry?
Not a question, just a statement. I just want to commend Dr. Chase and the team and all of the parents who participated in this process. This was, a very thorough plan that you guys have come up with. Obviously, there's some factors that you can't account for, but you all did a fantastic job in leveraging our external assets. I love the fact that you were able to get the TDYCC to help out with this. I'm happy to hear how you're leveraging social media to continue to communicate with parents. Yeah, I just want to thank you all for doing such a great job. I'm not surprised. Because we've come accustomed to this kind of output by you, Dr. Chase, of you and your staff. I also want to thank the teachers and our civil servants as well for their patience and also their cooperation with this, because none of this would be as successful as this sounds like it's going to be without your input. So thank you to you all as well.
Thank you, Terry. David? Tanya, you're next.
Dr. Chase,
Uh-oh.
I echo everything that Attorney Williams just said. Good job. Keep it up. My question is, I'm thinking that as we go to the hybrid model, there may possibly be additional staffing and or equipment and or facilities requirements, and there will be budgetary concerns that go with that. Do we have any idea when we'll know what those will be?
So the one thing I can promise my school board, when I know, you will know. I will let you know if we need additional funding. Right now, we're trying to work with what we have. And then I'm looking forward to having more robust conversations with you all about what that can possibly look like. really soon.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Tanya.
Yes, so I just wanted to briefly go back to this issue of the schedules because the day has been compressed into 4 hours. So that covers 4 hours of instruction. But if on top of that, you're going to add breaks, then you're actually taking away from that minimum instructional time. And also, I guess I'm a little concerned, especially for the younger kids, that a single break, a single 15-minute break in the 4-hour period is just really not going to be very conducive to learning. I mean, I don't think that they can really focus for more than 20 to 30 minutes before they need some kind of a break or a change or something. So I don't know if you can provide more detail now, or if you can post details about with sample schedules, or if this is something I'm just, that's my concern.
Well, if I can, please. So thank you very much, Trustee Jardick. Understanding that every classroom is different, understanding that each classroom is going to be made up of different types of students and learners as well as instructors, knowing that each grade level is going to have a different need. So I will answer this question from the perspective of a former first grade teacher. I knew that when I designed my lessons, my breaks had to be frequent. So there had to be 20 minutes of instruction and then maybe 5 minutes of a stretch or some sort of physical modality before we got back into the next part of the learning. So each classroom is going to design their breaks differently. What we may do as a district is recommend that they don't surpass a certain amount of minutes, whether it includes, so for instance, if we say there's going to be no more than a half an hour to 45 minutes worth of breaks, we don't mean for that to be a consecutive half hour to 45 minutes. It can be spread out throughout that portion of the day, with the bulk of that time being kind of in the middle of the day so that students can get a real true bathroom break or get a quick snack to eat. So it'll look different by grade level and by class.
I've seen our pre-K ECP teachers work miracles with children for length of time. So I have full confidence in their ability to know when it's time to have a break. Just as when you're having adult meetings and you know when the adults are getting a little fidgety and it's time to have a break, our teachers are well trained in doing that, and I have full confidence. But that is a great question to ask.
Okay, I can't see you on the screen, but Ashley or Miss Carrie, do you have any questions?
I'm okay at the moment.
All right. Tracy?
I'm just looking forward to hearing more about the child care for my younger child, and definitely about how the breaks are going to work for the older children that I have. 4 hours, my oldest child did okay with it. I'm not sure that my middle child will. And definitely my younger son is not going to sit for more than 15 minutes. You were generous, Tanya, with the 30 minutes in front of a screen. So he has a new teacher, and I'm looking forward to how she's going to try to engage them. I'm looking forward to finding out more about the child care specifically for essential workers, and how that's going to work. And so I look forward to hearing more about that. I understand that that's not solidified just yet.
Right, but I will tell you this much, both facilities that I've talked to, TDYCC, and as well, it's not the facility, but I also spoke to the Child Care Council. We are prioritizing essential workers. The district is going to prioritize essential workers as we did in the spring. So just know that. Okay. What I'm going to ask Dr. Reynolds to do, if you could just work with Dawn Mail, Patricia Simone, actually with all the principals, if we can possibly just give families maybe just what a sample schedule might look like. I think that that's going to be really, really helpful to people just sort of conceptualizing what this could possibly look like. And maybe we can just kind of just shoot it out as a sample, just a sample. I think that that will be very helpful for people to sort of, understand what it is that we're trying to articulate. You think maybe we can get that out in about maybe a week and a half from now?
Definitely, and what I would like to do is work with our principals so we make it building specific, so that this way you're not getting an example that will be applicable for a pre-kindergartner if your child is going into 7th grade.
I just have 2 more questions. Somebody reminded me about the specials that the children have, even from pre-K through 12. They have things like art, music, well, language is still taught the same instruction way, but how will these special classes that the children have, chorus, band, how will those type of classes be taught remotely?
Great question. So that type of instruction, whether it's special area or any of those clubs or activity type of courses, will more than likely be asynchronous, right? So a lot of those might be pre-recorded. A lot of those might have a determination where there might be a full lesson that is school appropriate as opposed to class appropriate. But in every possible way and with every possible vibe of our being, we're going to try to make that teaching synchronous at any time that we can. Try to build that into a schedule.
Thank you. And I totally forgot my second question. I'll ask it at a later date when it comes back to me.
Okay, Dr. Chase, I think I have a couple of questions. One, I think we've talked about this before. I mentioned to you before. Is it possible for us to bring back, as we move a little bit closer, maybe a parent university where we can have and students participating in that too? If we could have like a parent orientation so that parents can get a little bit more information about what it will look like, and maybe even not even maybe, I think it's really important, a student orientation too.
Yeah.
So they can get like assimilated back into the schools and how it's gonna look like remotely.
Yeah, so I'm happy you brought that up, because here's why I say this. The board received my recommendation, I would say a couple of days ago, 2 days ago. The board received my recommendation. So in that recommendation, I gave you a date that we since changed because of that very notion. I gave you a recommendation where school will start on the 14th for students. But if you notice, today I'm recommending the 11th, and here's why. We want to use that day for the purpose of getting kids reacclimated, right? We want to use that day for orientation, and that's exactly what it's going to be. It's orientation day. And what we're hoping that it's orientation day for those parents who are home with the kids, especially the younger children, for the first day. And then what we're looking to do is we're excited about what our back to school night will look like. It's going to be remote this year. So that back to school night will also serve as an orientation for our families as well. But you know what, Corey, perhaps maybe we can just think about what maybe a separate orientation might look like before school actually starts, just to kind of give parents an opportunity to ask those questions once again. We'll look, because we don't want to have so many meetings where you kind of lose sight of the purpose of the meetings. We want to give people some time to sort of process the information that they get. So let's have further conversation about that and see what we can come up with.
Okay, Dr. Chase, I know like I think it was during the budget time, we talked about, I believe you mentioned how we have been transitioning to digital textbooks. Will that be taking place? Do we know what's so available so far for our students?
Yeah, so I'm glad you mentioned that, because if you all remember, last year in the fall, we did a Chromebook distribution for the purpose of going completely digital. We had no idea that there would be COVID. So we had a budget, board said, yes, go for it. We had a vision, and that vision was in alignment to the mission statement that we would be this world-class school district in an interconnected world. And so we gave all the kids Chromebook. Lo and behold, here's COVID, and we were ready. We are still moving forward with being a mostly digital school district. It's the way our kids learn today, right? Those heavy textbooks are becoming very, very expensive and cumbersome. And one of the things that I know, and just in working with textbook companies, is that they change them every year. They update them. So by the time you get a textbook, the next year, the textbook is outdated. At least when it's electronic, you can always upload new materials, and it is much more cost effective. So we're still moving rapid speed in making our district as close to paperless as we can possibly make it. And if you notice, our board meetings have been paperless. You don't get the agendas, right? You get it electronically, because COVID forced us into becoming paperless. And that's what it's going to force the whole world to become paperless eventually.
Okay, my last thing, I have a plug for all the PTAs. PTA membership, it is still going on, even though we may not be in the schools. So please look out for any communications from our local PTAs in regards to membership and how they can support our students during this time. That's all I have.
Can I piggyback off of that, Antoinette? I think it also helps if you join the PTA membership in the school where your child or children are, because the PTAs speak directly with the principal. The PTA council will be speaking directly and collaborating with our superintendent. And so they will help to facilitate communication and information for you. There's a lot of information.
Yeah.
I have multiple kids. I'm not sure what's going on sometimes either. So when we do go to full remote and you can't just go to the school and ask a direct question, having that connection with the PTA,
Really
all the members, that's really going to be helpful.
Yeah, I can speak to that too. Even with the parent meetings, we had a PTA president who served as a moderator in supporting the school district. Lauren Lopez did a phenomenal job. In the chat, there were so many awesome recommendations made by PTA. I saw Dr. Ali, I saw Kelly just making comments about how they can help children keep their mask on when we bring them back, how we can help parents get together, considering pods. There's so many awesome opportunities now for PTA to work with their school communities, and just know that we at the administration here are happy to support and happy to guide in any way we can.
How do I get contact for the PTA in my
I knew you were going to ask me that question. It's a private joke, right? So I knew you were going to ask me that question. We can talk offline as to how you can get it.
If you don't mind, I have one question.
Go ahead, Ashley.
So it occurred to me as we were talking through this whole thing, I think it would be a good idea if we thought about potentially a weekly or bi-weekly type of town hall meeting while we are in a remote fashion with the parents. I think that would be good to sort of function as a check-in, like two-way feedback, so that we can understand if something needs to be adjusted. Like you said, like everyone has said, right? This is our first time going through this, and we know we're going to have to make adjustments. So why not have that dialogue continue?
Yeah. So one of our parents, I know Roy, mentioned to us the other day about having a fireside chat, right? He talked about just having this weekly, with the administration, we'll work it out, of having some sort of weekly coffee and conversation. Superintendent's tea virtually, superintendent's dessert, bring your own brown bag kind of thing. Make sure it's dessert in the bag, please. And so, we can talk about what that could possibly look like. I know Roy made that recommendation, and we took that recommendation very seriously. So that's something that we can possibly do.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, Miss Carrie, I believe I see your telephone box there. Do you have any questions?
No, I don't have any questions. I just want to know, because of the severity of this right now, I was just wondering if there's a possibility to have small committees in the schools with parents and teachers and, and the principal, of course, to continue to work on the most, I guess, easiest way to start, looking at how we're going to eventually have face-to-face classes.
Yeah, so Ms. Carey, it's a great question. Currently, the schools have their pandemic coordinators, and they have a team that's working and talking about what those plans could possibly look like. But that can be expanded, and it should be expanded to parents, depending on the age group of the students, perhaps maybe the students and to some of the other educators. That's something that we're going to have a conversation with the principals about next week when we're all back together for our admin meetings. Some of the principals have already shared that they're going to continue.
Did you get a call? Or probably not, because you didn't ask me what happened.
They're going to continue with their monthly coffees. Principals have their monthly coffees. They have their monthly time with their family. So they're going to continue with that. But there could be other things that we could possibly do as well. So thank you for the recommendation.
And
go ahead, Ms. Carey.
And the second thing I wanted to ask is, because there was so much emphasis put on the situation at Bailey School, I really haven't heard anything about what's happening there. It seemed to be a real concern at one point And when the question was answered, I really didn't get a good feel on whether or not we're working on the situation and when and if that situation is going to be rectified before we have children or even people coming back into that school.
So Bailey School is still a very, very important topic of conversation for us. And we're still working very, very hard to try to get Bailey COVID ready. Michael Falcone has some updates. We have been updating the board. I know we send the board through Google Sheets. We send you guys updates on what we're doing at Bailey School. So the board has been apprised of that. But I think it's important for Mr. Falcone to share that publicly with everyone so that the public will know where we are with Bailey School. Mr. Falcone?
Yes, I've been working closely with the architect engineer by what they recommend. So I've had our HVAC contractor that's over there. And of course, before he starts working on it and pounding it, there is asbestos that's in the attic. So as we speak, we're having asbestos removal. We have an abatement in 2 fan rooms. After we have the 2 fan rooms abated, then we can go ahead and the engineer is going to go in there and size up the motors, see if we can freeze some of the squirrel cages that are up top there, and see if we can get some dampers, duct cleaning done at the same time. So right now I'm in the process, 1 step at a time. After the abatement, then I'm going to get prices on what it is to try to repair and get it working.
And Mr. Falcone, that's been updated in Google Sheets, correct?
I believe I updated up until today. I don't think I put anything in there.
Okay.
The only thing I don't think is in there is the asbestos abatement, but I think everybody knew about that.
Yes, everyone knows. Okay, thank you.
Ms. Carey, do you have anything else?
No, I just want to make it clear, I know about the, certain things, but there were certain things that I felt I had not been appraised of, and there was questions asked tonight about it. I didn't feel that I got the proper answer, so I'm glad the question was re-answered, and I'm glad I got a better idea of what's going on at Bailey School.
All right, thank you, Ms. Carey. Dr. Reynolds?
I just wanted to assure those people who are just hearing about this for the first time that at no time was there any danger to anyone in the building at Bailey because of the asbestos that was found. Most buildings over a certain amount of years old have asbestos in them naturally. We did not discover the asbestos until the need for COVID ventilation came into play, and we started digging around to see what was preventing our ventilation from being up to par. So that was the basis for the discovery of the asbestos. And again, we need to, as a district, just assure everyone that at no time had that asbestos been breached. So at no time did it pose a danger to anyone who was in Bailey School.
Thank you, Dr. Reynolds, for clearing that up. Are there any other questions from the board?
Will everyone please mute themselves?
I'm sorry, will parents be made aware of the asbestos situation at Bailey so that like falsehoods won't be spread out? I mean, people hear asbestos and they immediately go to the extreme negative. So would we be sending out something to parents letting them know that the children are safe, but asbestos has been discovered?
Dr. Chase, I'm pretty sure that before anyone ever enters any building with any issues, that will be communicated to our community.
Especially if children were going to be occupying the building. Absolutely. So yes.
We have an environmental consultant that's going to be monitoring this the whole time, and they're going to evaluate the air exchange, airflow, asbestos fibers throughout this whole time. So they're going to evaluate the building prior to occupation.
Mr. Falcone, can you just, if for just 2 minutes, because I know that we need to leave, but can you just clarify for the community what this environmental specialist will be doing district-wide for the quality assurance?
Yeah, to every building, he's gonna monitor and he's gonna see how much airflow is going through our buildings and any kind of contamination on surfaces as well. He's gonna be testing throughout the district to make sure that the ventilation requirements are met, through the CDC and the New York State Department of Education.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Falcone. I think we're come to a close unless there's any other board members with any questions. Again, I just wanted to thank everyone for taking the time to join us at this meeting. Just please look out for more information. We will keep the community updated. We do have a special meeting on this Saturday for the board. And there was one more thing. Oh, before you leave, I know there was a lot of questions about how to contact PTAs. I saw several PTA emails in the chat. So if you can take a look before I shut the meeting down, close the meeting, that will be really helpful as well to yourselves. So I did see several PTAs put emails and ways that you can contact them in regards to membership. And you can be a membership to 1,000 PTAs all across the state if you choose to, just to let you know. All right, with that being said, Dr. Chase, do you have any final words? Because I would like to adjourn the meeting.
I would like to know, does the board approve our recommendation to have a delayed start? I think that's what everyone's waiting for.
Yes.
Well, I think we all, let me say this, I support it. I think we all do. I think like I said earlier, that on Saturday, we're going to do an official, a resolution that will include that and also the appointment of the COVID-19 task coordinators as well.
Okay.
But board members, you're free to chime in. Again, we don't have to take, this is not like for an official vote, but you could definitely, show your approval, your commitment, your support of the plan. I support it.
I approve.
Terry, I see your hand.
So, question for you. The COVID task coordinators, Dr. Chase and I think Dr. Reynolds, they're the head task folks, and then they're going to be at the different buildings. Does that need our approval?
The COVID-19 task force coordinators, I've said it early in the meeting, I just said it now. On Saturday, there is a resolution for us to do that.
No, I heard what you said, but I guess my question is, do we need to do that? Because, okay, all right.
Yes.
The state has said that we need to do that.
Yes.
That the board needs to approve it.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. All right.
That is
just making
from
sure.
Our lawyers. Yes, they said yes. That is something that we.
Larry, could you just nod it if that's indeed the case? Thank you.
How embarrassing.
Okay, so without
I'm from Missouri. You got to show me.
Can I get Steve? Are you ready? I'm sorry, Steve. Can I check in with you? Are you ready? Because I'm about to adjourn.
Thank you, community, for all of your questions and your support, your patience. I ask flexibility, adaptability, nimble, patience, understanding, and support. We appreciate your partnership.
Okay, are we almost finished?
Yes, thank you, community. Ms. Carey, do you have something to say? Because I'm going to adjourn.
I just want to hear you say, let's adjourn the meeting.
Can I get a motion to adjourn this meeting?
So moved.
All right. Any
Second.
opposed?
Nope.
Okay.
Aye.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you so much, community. Thank you for participating, and please look forward to updates along the way.
Good night, all.
All right. Have a good night, everyone.
Aye.
Good night, everyone. Thank you. Much appreciated.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night. Let me see. Laser.